is Erica Irvin. I work with the school district, and my title is Compliance and Monitoring Coordinator for Special Education, and I oversee preschool special education as well as Child Find. I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and so we do a lot of ABA methodologies and everything that we do. I mean, it's part of my daily life, in and out of job. And so today I'm going to talk to you about the Child Find process, what it is, how do you access it, and what do you do when you have a situation that you want some information on to share with the family, okay? We do annual mailings to the community to notify them of Child Find. And so we have a list of approximately maybe 2,000, somewhere up in that number, of private schools, churches, physicians' offices, attorneys, realtors, any agency that we're aware of or gets called to us and says they want information, we mail them what is coming around you today, the brochure. So they can post that in their pediatrician's office or anywhere to give families the information to know what Child Find is. And I'm going to tell you what it is. Child Find is a component of IDEA, so the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act. Child Find, we're mandated to identify, locate, and evaluate children that are suspected of having disabilities, okay? That's what we're required to do, regardless of the severity. And the purpose is to see if they might be in need of special education services. So it's for children ages 3 through 21, okay? So we can start screening children at ages 2.5, and we get that transition referral from BabyNet, who provides the early intervention for those children. So it's for children aged 3 through 21 who attend public or private schools, and I'll talk to you about the difference for those populations. Also includes those who are homeschooled, homeless, and those that are wards of the state. So for a preschool aged student, they, the district that they reside in is responsible for their Child Find obligation. So a child that lives in Greenville County comes to Greenville County for Child Find if they're preschool aged. If they're school aged, the regulations from the State Department are a little bit different. So a child can live in a neighboring district, but if their private school is in Greenville County, they come to Greenville County Child Find, okay? But the difference is, are they preschool, so not old enough for kindergarten, or are they school age, old enough for kindergarten and above, okay? If you're unsure, call Child Find, and we'll work that through with you, okay? So far since July 1, we have conducted 653 Child Find screenings. 518 of them are preschool children. And the 135 additional children, those are school age. So as you can see, the majority of our bulk of Child Find screenings has to do with preschool age children. So that's great. We want this. I'd be very, very concerned about our community outreach if these numbers were flipped. We want to catch children as early as possible because we want to provide that early intervention. And we have a great working relationship with BabyNet. And the transition between a child who's being served early intervention-wise, when they turn 2 years old, we work on that transition. When they're 2 years, 6 months, we get information from the BabyNet office. And I also get information from the State Department on who these children are back when they're 18 months old. I get them on a report. So we're always reaching out, making sure we're capturing anyone who is out there that might need services. Now, families certainly can choose to decline. We don't ever pressure a family. So we want them to know that we respect those decisions. If they want to be screened or not, they can make that decision, and we won't bother them. We want them to come to us, though. So when we talk about children with suspected disabilities, sometimes a misconception is if my child is getting A's, they're fine. But I want you all to know, so you can help spread the word, that there are many areas that all have to do with a child's educational performance. Emotions impact performance. Motor ability impacts educational performance. Social and daily living skills, all of these things impact your achievement and readiness skills, okay? So if a parent says, oh, I'm a little concerned about my child's behavior, but they know all their letters, they can read anything that I put in front of them, but I can't even take them to McDonald's because they really don't know how to act. And people stare at me, so I stay home. Well, that's a child that you might say, why don't you contact Child Find? Maybe they can conduct a screening to see if there's any supports that your child might need. Okay? It doesn't have to just be academic readiness. Does anyone already know that? Has anyone ever heard of Child Find before today? Okay, good. All right, so great. I hope a lot of you are learning some new information today because we want to spread the word. And so, for preschool children, we look at 5 developmental domains. We look at cognition, we look at communication, motor, independent functioning, like how do you take care of yourself, and social emotional development, okay? In addition to that, we also look at vision and hearing. So when you get older, it's not just cognition per se, which would be intelligence, it's also academic readiness and achievement ability. So we are comprehensively looking at children. We're not just saying the parent's concern was in their ability to handwrite, so let's just look at that. No, if they're coming to us for Child Find, we're looking holistically at the child. Any questions? Child Find, we're easy to contact, I hope, but if not, I want you to keep this information handy. We have a Child Find clinician. Her name is Stephanie Snow. She is a certified school psychologist, and she serves in the role of Child Find clinician. And this is her number. She's housed here at CDS along with myself. Lisa McKinnon is our Child Find specialist. Brenda McGarrett is our Child Find clerk. I also have a data entry clerk here in the building. I have a secretary here in the building and a preschool specialist here in the building and a Spanish interpreter, Spanish liaison. So we've got lots of supports here from the school district. And you can call this number, 331-1311, and make a Child Find appointment. There's also a Child Find intake form that I have sent out through Patty Ertzberger through BabyNet, and she's provided that to early interventionists. And I can provide that to physicians. Like I've given it to a couple of the doctors at Developmental Peds that have contacted me directly, and that's something I'll give you today, a copy. And if you email me on my business card that I sent you, I can send you an electronic version of what we refer to as the Child Find intake form. So what will happen is someone can call Child Find, and then our clinician is going to follow up to ask some detailed questions. What are your concerns? Has your child ever been evaluated? Is your child currently attending school? Any medical history that we need to be aware of? And then we'll schedule an appointment. And we ask the family, do you have any evaluations? And we want to get that information. So if they have a kinetics evaluation, or they've been to Clarity, or any other agency out there, we try to gather all that information so that we can look holistically at the child, not just from what we see that child on their appointment day, but the history of data that they bring that puts together all the information so we can see the child comprehensively. Again, we have a very good relationship with BabyNet, and we conduct transition conferences together at the screening appointment. And that means that the early interventionist, who is serving in the role of providing that support to the child, they participate in the screening appointment, which is awesome because they are a wealth of knowledge in terms of how they know the child's development. And they talk to the family about what the school district can provide in terms of screenings, evaluations, potential services. So, you might have a concern with a child that's currently attending Greenville County Schools. So you got a child in 2nd grade, comes to your services, and the parent's really struggling, the child's having difficulty. If a child's already in one of our schools, they don't need to call Child Find, because what we have in the schools is a version of Child Find that's called Assistance Team. That's the A-Team process. Have anyone ever heard that? Okay, good. The A-Team process is the general education intervention process that we utilize when looking to see if children need a higher intensity level of intervention. Is it at the level where a child is suspected of having a disability? So, again, if they're in school in Greenville County, no need to call Child Find. Contact your child's school. You can let people know that might contact you. Some children may already have, for example, an IEP for speech therapy. Maybe they're getting speech therapy in the school district. But the parent has more concerns. They're concerned with their child's behavior. Or maybe they can't read and they're really worried. Again, no need to call child find because that child has already been found, okay? Child is identified as having a disability, they have an IEP. So anytime there are any concerns, the IEP team is what can convene to talk about the parent's additional concerns, or maybe the provider has additional concerns. So those are the circumstances that you wouldn't contact child find. Child's already in school, and child already has an IEP, okay? Doesn't have to be both, either or, okay? Any questions about that? Yes. Yes.
If somebody just moves to the area and they have a school-age child and they come with a disability, I had heard in the past that they should go to their neighborhood school and
Yes.
attempt to register them, but should they come to do that or go to child find?
If they have an IEP, they don't need to be identified through child find. Now, it might be from out of state, which would mean that we need to establish South Carolina eligibility, but still that wouldn't need to come to child find because again, they've already been identified somewhere. Child find is to look for those that are suspected. The child that moves in with an IEP has been identified, so we would meet at the child's school, the neighborhood school, and then they would determine how to proceed. And what we do is provide comparable services. So we take an IEP in from wherever, implement those services, and then we meet as an IEP team, usually within 15 or so days. Okay? Yes?
Erica, my question is, what if we have a child that's in school who hasn't been found yet?
Huh?
So it doesn't have, but the parent just feels that there's something going on. Should they approach that first with their school, or should they contact child find?
They should contact their child's teacher,
Okay.
first and foremost. And you know, if there's some sort of a struggle between that, then I would contact the next level of support at the school, such as administration. Okay? Because they know the child best. Yes?
Are all of these children put into so-called special education classes?
Well, no.
They're not. Okay.
No. Of the children that we screen, there's going to be some potential different outcomes, and I'll share with you what those are. Some children are not eligible for special education, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Some are, but there's a continuum of support services that we provide. Okay? So we'll talk through that. So the Child Find team approach, we always have a school psychologist and a speech language therapist at Child Find initial screenings. Occupational therapist is traditionally there, especially with preschool age children. We also have other disciplines as needed based on that intake form, previous evaluations and child history. We might include an evaluator for the visually impaired, for the hearing impaired, a physical therapist, maybe an orientation and mobility specialist, other areas that might be needed, all based on the child's history and parents' concerns, so that again we can look holistically at the child. Okay?
Excuse me, do all schools in Greenville County have school psychologists?
All schools in Greenville County are assigned a school psychologist.
Okay.
They're not there 5 days a week, but like for example, a school psychologist, I don't know, maybe they have 7 schools.
They have between 5 and
Yeah.
7 schools.
And so they have a certain
Is
day.
that a load that they can actually work with?
No.
You know, that seems to be a problem to me.
Right. Well, what we do is we have interventions provided by the school teams. And so the school psychologist is one member of that team. We also have highly trained staff members in the schools. And so those assistance teams that we went back to, the school psychologist participates in those meetings. And the school psychologist might conduct parts of the evaluations, but they're not always that primary evaluator, because sometimes we're looking at a speech therapist doing an evaluation, occupational therapist if we've got motor or sensory concerns. It could be a physical therapist. Lots of different disciplines are there. So again, each school has a psychologist that's assigned to them, yes. So every school has the supports necessary to follow through this process. But you can contact the school directly to find out who that psychologist is, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Not every child goes.
Okay, locations for child finds. We have our school-age child find is conducted at M.T. Anderson Support Center, and that is, for those of you that are from Greenville, it's the old Southside High School building that we now have renovated. It's a beautiful facility. I have a secondary office over there. Amanda serves there. M.T. Anderson Support Center. It's on Blasingame Road over near 85 by the hospital. So that happens there, school-age children. And the preschool-age children are at Greenview Child Development Center, which is near there as well. It's in that same area of town, okay? And the screenings are conducted in a very comfortable format. We've got lots of toys. It's cheerful, it's friendly for our preschool children. We don't want them to think they're coming in, for some testing or a shot at the doctor's office. So we try to make them feel relaxed and have lots of happy toys there. So an initial appointment, we schedule them for an hour each. So sometimes they take the full hour, sometimes they take a little bit less, but typically they're about an hour long. And at that time, they're reviewing all the information that we have, because our office, Brenda McGarrett and Lisa McKinnon, they work very hard behind the scenes to get all the information. So if a child, again, has a clarity report, developmental peds, MUSC, autism division, anywhere, we try to gather all that information ahead of time so that the Child Find team can review that information, meet with the child and the parent. You're looking to see, is this information current and relevant? Does this child present the same way I'm reading? Do we need additional data? What information do we need? They'll conduct screenings or assessments as they determine needed. Review any other data that the parent brings, because maybe they just recently had a new equipment that we didn't know about yet. So we tell the parents, bring whatever you have. Participation in the BabyNet Transition Conference. And then 85% of the children preschool age that come for a first appointment are referred for a follow-up appointment. And so that would be that next step, where they might say, we want to do an evaluation in the areas of motor and communication, or we're looking at, we need more information in the area of social emotional development, we want to do an observation, we want to do some testing to get some cognitive scores to see how the child's performing functionally. Okay, so it's all dependent on what the team feels is necessary, and parent is part of that discussion, and the EI if they have an early interventionist, because everyone together is putting their heads together, talking about the child. What do they see? What do they read? What are the parents' concerns? So the Child Find process has possible options, one of them being the child is not suspected of having a disability. They're age appropriate in all developmental areas. So they're done. Parents at that point, we would give them information. A lot of times we tell parents, contact Help Me Grow. If you have additional needs for community supports, we might tell them to come back, call us in 3 months, call us in 6 months. We'd be glad to take another look, do another screening as your child gets a little bit older. So that could be one of the outcomes. Another outcome could be that the child is referred for a follow-up appointment and they need a full evaluation or just a partial evaluation, because we have some things like developmental peds might just have done a whole comprehensive evaluation, but we might want to do a speech evaluation. Maybe we want to do sensory profile for sensory impairment issues. So we might schedule that child for one of these 4 different time schedules, from 45 minutes to 2 hours, depending on what we think we might need. Another outcome is that a disability is suspected and the team has all the information right there in front of them from what the parent has provided and what they see at the time of that first appointment. Okay? So those are your 3 possible outcomes. Okay, one is disability not suspected. Another one is we need more information. We're going to schedule you for a follow-up appointment. Another one is we know the child has a disability given the information that we currently have. Okay? And then the next step would be for this one and this one. So if a disability is suspected, you're going to have what's called an eligibility meeting. Okay? An eligibility meeting is when the team gets together to complete the evaluation process and determine if the child is eligible for special education. And so in order to be eligible for special education, it's not the same as a child who has a medical diagnosis of Down syndrome or has a medical diagnosis of autism. That doesn't equate to a child with a special education IEP. What we have to look at is, number 1, does the child have a disability? Do they meet the state eligibility criteria? Number 2, does it impact their educational performance? Going back to remembering, educational performance is not just grades. It is the whole child. Is it impacting their educational performance? And if we think the severity of their disability is impacting them significantly, that child may meet eligibility criteria by the team. If that's the case, an IUP an individual educational program will be developed for that child, okay? And the IEP is that federal document. It's required for every child who is eligible and receiving special education services. And that document we must review annually. So every year we have to review it. But the majority of the time, anytime a parent or a provider has concerns or the child has progress, the teams can meet anytime, but we have to meet at least once a year. And that includes all the services, supports, accommodations, goals, anything that the IEP team determined the child required. Anyone have any questions about that? So the big thing is, we all need to work together. We're a big community. We're Greenville Can. I mean, we're all here. And so just the fact that I come here almost every month, I think I wasn't able to come last month, but a lot of times I see new faces. I missed it. I was so upset that I couldn't come. But a lot of times I see new faces, I see regular faces, I see enthusiasm for the support that we provide for children. And that's what I want to continue to do. And I can't do it alone. I mean, I can work for Greenville Schools, but I can't reach everyone in that community. And I know we're not touching every kid out there. So we need to keep spreading that word. And I've got my contact information here for you. My contact information, Lisa McKinnon, who can answer pretty much any question that comes our way. Our Child Find clinician, she's the one with that Child Find appointment call on the line, okay? 331-1311. Brenda Magera, she's very, very instrumental in gathering a lot of those reports to make sure that the teams have a comprehensive look at the children. So that is that information. I also have, if you want, I'm going to put these two forms on the side counter. The Child Find intake form, in case you want to take one for your office and make some copies, take a couple, and the Spanish Child Find brochure, okay? Does anyone have any additional questions?
I have a request. Well, you know how I send out my little e-blast or what have you? I feel like this with the schools is such a wide thing, and it's public and all that, and I think there are a lot of folks who don't necessarily have all this information or what have you, but if you sent me content of, Mike, if you could send this out, this is what we'd love to have to go out, I would happily do an e-blast specifically for this, and then a lot of organizations will send that on to their folks, but I think more clarity that we can provide for folks just to make it easier to navigate that system, because I think sometimes folks are overwhelmed at the size of the school district and aren't always fully aware that the people who are involved in the school district are super nice, sweet people like you and Cheryl and Susan, you know what I mean? And I think anything we can do to bring that down and make it easy for people to feel like they can kind of reach out and access that, I think would be really helpful. So if anything Greenville can do to help that would be
great. And we have the Greenville County Schools website. You can just Google Greenville County Schools and you can pull it up. If you hover over the parents, I don't have internet access here, so I can't click on the links. But if you hover over parents, there's going to be a section way over here somewhere. It says special education. This is what you see when you click on that link, okay? And in that link, we've initiated something called Parent Academy that we do every month on the second Tuesday. We have one coming up this coming Tuesday, where we meet with families. Whoever wants to come, who's new to special education, just sit down with them at a round table and talk. What is IDEA? What is special education? What did you just sign in that meeting? What does that mean? And answer any questions they have to make them feel comfortable. Like you said, we're huge. We're 800 square miles. We have over 72,000 children. And so we want families to know to come to us. But on this link, you can also get the Parent Academy workshop. There's a link for Child Find procedures where you can access those brochures. A-team process brochures, anything that you want to know about special education, you'll find it here. Also the procedural safeguards, commonly known as the parent handbook, that's on here. So that's another